This is what I'm gonna call a repair vlog. I think I did one more of them before. It's not so much an instructional video, well, it is kind of that, but also combined with just sort of a whole day screwing around with something. We're gonna mess around with the bounder here and get some new tires and things on it. And this video is like an hour long, or not quite, but close to it. So yeah, sit back and enjoy. We always have the strangest weather here. Like, I don't even know what's going on right now. It sort of looks like snow, but it's sort of sleet, but the sun's out.
See, like, what even is this? It's like ice pellets, but they're really lightweight. Yeah, it's like little lightweight hailstones. You can see a lot of it's melting as it's hitting the van, so it's not like that cold.
I think regardless, I should probably go set up a time-lapse camera outside. The weather might become interesting. So I did some research. Apparently the stuff that was falling from the sky is called... stupid advertisements. Grapple something? Hang on.
Grapple.
Grapple? I wonder if that's the same word.
Grapple.
This form of precipitation starts as snowflakes, and then these snowflakes grow larger and larger as supercooled water funnels up into the clouds and bonds to the flakes. You can tell the difference between the grapple and or hail or sleet by picking up the tiny snowballs. They're soft and easy to crush. It's grapple. Be sure to take pictures and tag on social media. This website's the worst. Apparently it's snowing in surrounding areas around Portland where there's higher elevations and whatnot. Right here, the sun is back out again and whatever that stuff was earlier has melted. But all that being said, I think today I should probably get a few maintenance things on the bounder taken care of. Now the Frontier V6 works really well in the snow. I've tested that before, no problems there. But I'm curious with the bounder, how that thing will do being rear wheel drive and all. But I have some brand new tires for it. I just got those a few days ago, so we need to swap those on. And then also, I got delivered my chain tool here. This thing allows me to remove some links from the chain, the drive chain on it. And I think today would be a good time to do that. It's supposed to dump a bunch of snow tonight and tomorrow, and it's like 34 degrees outside. So I want to make sure the thing's ready to go when the snow does happen so I can test it out. Now, the reason I'm having to do anything to the bounder is kind of my fault. They sell a gear set to change the ratios on the chain drive on the back of it, and I ended up getting the chair that was the off-road one, which goes kind of slow, and I quickly decided that I didn't want to go that slow, so I put bigger tires on the back and also swapped out the drive gears. And I haven't bought the official kit from Bounder. It's like over 500 bucks, and just for whatever reason, I don't know. Someone was gonna buy one for me and then didn't wind up doing it, and I was like, whatever, I'll just buy something on Amazon and make it work. Anyways, I say all that to say, I had to take a few links out of the chain because the rear sprocket being smaller is how you get more speed. But obviously the chain's too long. Well, it turns out I didn't take enough links out, and as the chain has been stretching over the last like 1,000 miles I've put on that thing, we've now gotten to the point where the motors tilt far enough forward that they're interfering with other things on the chair. So I need to take a couple more links out. And the way I did it before was with a screwdriver and a punch and a hammer. Anyways, this was like $7 on Amazon, so we can take care of that. So what we're gonna do is go out to the garage. I can get down on the floor. I can't do it too many times yet. Most of my bruises and stuff are getting a lot better now. Some of the ones on my chest are still there and on my legs and whatnot. But if I'm careful, I can get down onto the floor once or twice. So I'm gonna try and get all the stuff together that I need to do it at once. And then we'll see if we can make this happen. But basically, since I have to take the tires off anyways and swap them out, I figure it's a good time to adjust the chains or knock a few links out of them as well. But anyways, I'm gonna get all my filth together. We'll go out to the garage and I'll show you how this works. I know I've done this a few times in the past, but hey, you know, it's an easy video to film. I'm gonna be doing it anyways, and I can talk you through the process. Okay, step one on this process. Well, Obviously, I used the jack to pick the thing up off the ground, but you're going to need to let the air out of the tires. I do have tire slime in here, so I'm going to rotate this tire around so the valve stem's pointing up. There we go. And since these are split rims, you have to let the air out of the tires before you take the wheel off, because the same bolts that hold the wheel on also hold the two halves of the wheel together. So if you just take these out, things are going to explode in your face. Now these tires are a little bit prematurely worn out. I put them on here, these tires on here originally when I still had the camber issue on this chair, but I've since fixed that. So now our tires are straight up and down and we won't be getting wear on the inside of them like we were previously. So we've got our air let out of here now. So I'm gonna go grab my sockets and the mini impact and we will take this wheel off of here. Now, these still have a spacer inside of them, and gross. Look at all that sludge from running around in the rain and stuff. These do still have that plastic spacer inside there, and I still need to get an aluminum one or something similar, because this plastic spacer tends to crush as you tighten down the wheel, and it makes the whole thing wobble. So I think what I might try and do is see if I can find, I'm going to measure the depth of this thing, and then I'm going to get some steel spacers. Hopefully I can find them in the right length, and then I will just drill out the plastic spacer and sink those down in there. That way the spacers bottom out and we don't have the weird compressing that's going on that makes the outside half of this wheel sort of wobble all over the place. I'm going to be reusing these tubes, mostly because actually we'll have to go from the back. Mostly because when I ordered the replacements, I only ordered one by mistake. So I figure these ones should still be good, and they already have the tire slime in them, so we won't have to worry about that. I'll let a little bit more air out of here. Now here's that plastic spacer I was talking about. If you look real close, you can kind of see that the plastic is a little bit marred up and flexed and weird. In theory, when you clamp this thing down, it should be flat. But then if you look at things like this, yeah, you can see it's not exactly in pristine condition. So I think I'm going to try and I'm going to measure this and try and find some spacers to put in here. I may not do that before I reinstall these today, but ideally, finding a metal or a steel one of these things would be good, but it's kind of a weird size, so I think just running some solid steel spacers in there might be the way to go. And then there's this other one. This one's fine. It's just sort of like a Delron material, so it doesn't compress at all. Okay, let's get the other half of our wheel off of here. And then pull our tube out. Gonna have to let some more air out. I'm just squeezing the tube with one hand while I push down on the valve stem. A better way to do this would actually probably be just removing the valve from the valve stem. But I don't want to take the 5 seconds required to find that tool. These Kenda tubes are pretty nice anyways. They sort of have, not lubrication, but they slide in and out of there really well. And these are very high quality, very thick tubes. And there you can see, Kenda. And you gotta use the right angle valve stems, otherwise, yeah, ain't gonna happen. But yeah, you can see here, half of this is worn, half of it is not. And you can sight down the top, it's at sort of a weird angle. But we've gotten the camber on this chair fixed now, so that's not gonna be an issue. Let me grab the new tires. They are behind me. It's kind of funny, they delivered them just like this. The UPS guy rang my doorbell, I went outside and this was just sitting on my doorstep exactly like this. It's kind of funny. And actually, while we're screwing around with the chains, you can see you get some nice good tread on here. I found these last me about 300, 350 miles or so on this chair. Now that the camber's fixed, maybe a little bit longer, but yeah. I'm gonna take these inside and set them on one of the heat vents just to sort of warm up the rubber while we deal with the chains on this, because it's gonna make these a lot easier to work with. As you can see, they're sort of smashed and whatnot from going through the shipping process. So makes it a little bit tricky to get your tube in here. So I'm gonna go set these inside, let them get warmed up, and then we'll continue with the chains here. Okay, things are gonna get a little bit messy here because of these chains. So I got some rubber gloves, some assorted pliers, the famous Lysol wipes, chain tool, oop, just lost that valve stem, or valve stem cap, and a towel. It's optional if you want to bleach your name into the towel or not. I bleached my name into this one years ago. For some reason my towels would always disappear, so I decided to bleach my name into this one. So it's now been dubbed the working on the floor towel. A little bit messy here. Oh, a couple of things I should point out if you are going to be doing this. With these chairs, I normally just put a jack under the back of it and pick up the battery box, just enough to get the tires off the ground. But the key thing is you want to make sure your front casters are pointing backwards or forwards, or basically trailing towards the front. Because if they're facing backwards, this chair's at an angle, they're going to swivel. And when they swivel, it's going to knock itself off the jack. So make sure you do that, very important. What we're going to do here, let's check and see. Yeah, see, this chain is already pretty slack. I adjusted it not too long ago. Actually really need to clean this chain too. I'm going to reach up and hit the brake release switch. So I'm going to rotate this around until I can find the master link, which, oh, actually it's right here. Yeah, there we go. There's our master link. That actually might be in a good spot to do this. Let's see. Clean this off a little bit here. Yeah, I really need to take this thing outside and hose it off with some brake clean. Get all this filth out of here. Oh. Looks like we're gonna have to pull our brake housing off here too and check that set screw. There's a set screw in there that links to the motor, and right now you can see we've got a tiny bit of play. So we're relying solely on the motor shaft keyway, and yeah, it'd be better to have the set screw absorbing that, or at least tighten it up a little bit. But okay, I'm going to reach up here and open our clutch mechanism. That's going to swing this motor back, and we can get started on this. Oh, why am I wearing my good jeans? I probably should have. Yeah, I definitely should have gotten my other jeans on. Oh well, I'll just be careful. I'm already on the floor. So we're gonna flip this open. Oh, I forgot. We have to raise the seat elevator. Let's see if I can do it with this piece of pipe. The seat elevator motor is actually in the way, or interfering with the clutch mechanism. There we go. All right, that should be far enough. Now I can open the clutch mechanism, and you'll see this motor tilt back. In theory. Oop, falling over. There we go. I meant to figure out exactly how much to remove from this, but I think probably, let's see here. I think one link should be good, or one grouping of links, because we only need about maybe ½ an inch or something like that on the front. Pull our master link off of here. Come on off of there, you. There we go. Oh, we got lucky. It went flying, but it's right here. Man, this chain is
filthy. Got our little washer there. Pull out the actual link, and then we can unroll our chain. Okay, there we go. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to start off just by pulling, we're going to pull one link for now and then check, and then we can always pull another one off if need be. Always better to take it off in two pieces than it is to do it once and have too much chain removed. Just realized something though. This is 35C chain, and I'm pretty sure this tool is set up for bicycle chain. Let's see here. Hopefully it's still compatible, or compatible enough. Oh yeah, I think we're still good. And we'll tighten this down. Yeah, I think we're okay there. And we'll tighten this till something happens. Uh-oh. Ah, I thought about that. There's a notch on the top of this tool. There we go. So you can see our pin has been pushed most of the way out of here. So now I can just grab it with some pliers and move it the rest of the way. I think my Knipex pliers are getting worn out. They're not as grippy as they used to be. Years of abuse. Okay, I think we got it far enough here. There we go. Man, that thing is tight. So yeah, make sure your brake or your chain tool is the proper size for what you're attempting to do. Yeah. So we're gonna put our little link back in here and then check our alignment and see where we land with that. Oh, I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Guess it helps if we actually get it on the sprocket. Uh-oh. That might have been too much. Uh-oh. So, actually, I think we're good. It just looks like we're crooked. Actually, you can see here on the camera, if you look at the frame of the chair, our motor is just about 90 degrees. So, yeah, that actually might be perfect. So all we needed was one link. Sweet. Well, I'm going to put this back together. Let's clean up our little master link washer McThingy here. There we go. Slide that back on there. All right. Then get our little itty bitty clip. And ditto on this. We do this with gloves on. There we go. There we go. We's linked. Cool. Alright, that'll do. Yeah, I think now since we're here, I'm going to take this brake mechanism off of here and check out to see what's causing our slack there. Yeah, what a mess. As you can see here, these chains need to be cleaned regularly because everything becomes filthy in a hurry. It's on my towel. The other nice thing about this new camera is it's not a compact DSLR, so it doesn't overheat when you run it for extended periods. The old A5100, I mean, I knew that it had overheating issues when I bought it, but you can usually get about 15 to 20 minutes of solid run time out of it. And I wasn't too worried about that, since most of the time
I don't usually run it recording for that long. But at least with the A5100, you could always turn the thing off and turn it back on, and you'd always get another 4 or 5 minutes of recording time. Now, the brake assemblies on this are mounted to this outer shell, and the wires are not the longest thing in the world, but it all kind of slides out of here, and the brake slides off of the shaft that's in here. So you get all 4 bolts out, and you just kind of wiggle the thing off of here, like so. And a whole bunch of dirt and crap and other things is going to fall out of here. Oh yeah, gross. Let's set that up here. Yeah, look at all that crud built up in there. Gross. Okay, now. Oh yeah. Oh, did we lose our set screw? I can't tell if it's still in there or not. Let's see. Oh, it's still in there. Sweet. Awesome. Yeah, so take a look here. I'll show you what I'm getting on about here. This is the motor shaft right here, I think. Yeah, so this is our motor shaft, and this collar back here is what that sprocket's attached to. Notice how the chain moves independently of the sprocket. See that? There is a keyway, just like this, that goes all the way through, and right now, that's what's keeping it from rotating. But there's a number of set screws all the way around this. There's one on top of the keyway and also one at 90 degrees. And you want to tighten these down because that is what... Uh-oh, is that one missing? Oh, wrong size again. You want to tighten down the one that goes on top of the keyway first to make sure that has tension, and then rotate 90 degrees and then tighten down our second one here. And oh yeah, that was super loose. And that basically prevents everything from slamming around on that shaft, which, I mean, in theory it would be okay. The keyway is there. It's designed to keep things from spinning, but it's best not to have this whole mechanism constantly slamming against that. So there, now you can see it's all attached in one piece. I'm going to check this other keyway here, which is a smaller, or I'm going to check this other set screw here. There we go. That one seems fine. It's already tight. These cogs right here are what engage on the brake mechanism. For long-term use and reliability, you want these things to be tight, because any movement of things slamming around here and there puts wear on things because it's all metal parts and whatnot. But really probably should have Loctite in there. But anyways, there you go. Now you can see all nice and smooth. And on these chairs, you know, that's something that you should check regularly anyways while you're cleaning the brakes. But as you can see here, these splines right here are what engage on this, and that's how your brakes work. Because you notice right now, I'm freely able to spin the motor, but this clamping mechanism right here is what actually works as the brake. Actually, come to think of it, I've got some cell phone video of last time I took these things apart and when I was cleaning them. If I remember, slash if I find it, I'm gonna put that in the video here just to show you what's inside these and how they work. But these are just a very large scaled up version of standard wheelchair brakes, essentially. And you can't take these apart. We've got these nice warnings on here that tell you death and dismemberment may occur. I think it's all written in French. Caution, brake is designed to self-energize in case of an electrical power failure. Replace, okay. Do not disassemble. Brake parts under high spring pressure. Personal injury can result if tampered with. And I actually started taking this apart because I was going to try and open this up. This is actually our friction material here. And I was going to try and open this up and clean it. And I realized that our spring tension was a lot higher than these screws are long. So I decided to just put it back together. And I think I used some brake clean or something. But for now, let's go ahead and put this back together. Actually, I'm going to, since we've already got a mess here on the floor, I'm going to clean some of the chunks out of here. And taking this mechanism apart is actually part of the recommended interval maintenance that 21st Century Scientific wants you to do anyways. So it's good to take these things apart and clean them every so often. It says in the manual like how often you're supposed to do it, but when I was running this thing 300 miles, or like 100, 150 miles a month, I was having to lube these quite a bit and adjust them all the time, and putting the grease and stuff on there winds up picking up dirt and blah 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 and all that stuff. So the more you run it, the more you got to clean it, but it will say in your manual what the correct interval is to do that. This goes on like this, and then you gotta shove our wire up in here. There we go. And make sure our wire's coming out the top here. There's a little indentation like this on the back as well. Actually, I guess I could move the camera. There you go. Yeah, so this wire you got to be careful with. It sort of tucks up under the chair here, but you just basically line this thing up. So your wire, let me shove that up in there. There we go. So the wire is coming through that notch, and then this metal housing goes on here, and then you have to sort of rotate your wheel a little bit for the brake to actually re-engage on that cog. Come on, you can do it. There we go. All right, make sure your wire's not pinched up here because that's a common thing that can happen. And then rotate this so your bolt holes line up. And Bob's your auntie. Lightly put our screws back in to make sure everything's aligned. There we go. Double check our wire, make sure that's free. It's not interfering with the chain. Okay, that looks good. I'm gonna hit the neutral switch up here on the back of the chair with my friend, and we're gonna rotate this around and make sure everything has plenty of clearance. Yeah, there we go. Looks like we're good. I'm gonna put that master link back right about there. Not important, but I just want to keep track of it for no apparent reason. And yeah, our adjustment clutch is completely, totally out of spec now. Obviously, because we're gonna have to readjust that totally. But for now, I think I'm gonna grab the vacuum cleaner, clean up some of this filth, and then we're gonna move over to the other side and do this whole dance again. Actually, I'm not gonna film the other side because it's exactly the same as this side, so I'm just gonna get it done, and then I will be back. Getting these tires back on here is sort of an interesting process, especially with those plastic spacers in there, because you can't just crank these down with the impact and expect everything to line up. And also there's a little bit of slop in the holes where the bolts go through. So basically what I do, I get them on here tight enough to get the tires seated, or get them beaded, and they're attached to the wheels on both sides now. So what I do is loosen everything back up just enough so that I can rotate the wheel. And actually, let me get this clutch closed a little bit. There we go. So that I can rotate the wheel on the hub and determine where the center point is. This might be kind of hard to see. If you look at this bolt versus the wheel, you'll see as I turn this that they move a little bit independently. Right there and right there. So what I do is I go forward for X amount of movement, and then I go back to maybe about where half would be. About like that. And then I'll go around and tighten all these down by hand till they are just basically tight. Or essentially just in contact with the wheel and the spacer and all that stuff. We haven't yet adjusted our chain tension, so what you want to look at is the actual wheel itself, not the tire. Nor what the tire is doing, because it is not inflated all the way yet. All I'm concerned about is how much this part here is wobbling. So I'm going to reach up here and spin up the tire. I have to reach over here and hit the inhibitor switch so it goes full speed. And they're going to watch that wheel and see where it wobbles. So you can see that this right here needs to be tightened down a little bit more. So we're going to do that, spin it up again. And right here needs a little bit more. Yeah, this is really hard to show on camera. You're probably not able to detect most of that, but basically you have to spin the thing up, get all the bolts tightened just enough so that this surface isn't wobbling at all. And then obviously your bolts aren't tight all the way, but since this is a split rim and the same bolts that hold it to the hub also hold the two halves of the wheel together, when you inflate the tire, that's going to back out the pressure and basically lock these bolts in place. So because that plastic spacer crushes a little bit, things can move around and get a little bit weird. So this is kind of the adjustment process that I figured out to get everything as straight as possible. I tried putting these washers in there to spread out the load on the surface of that plastic spacer, but then it wouldn't fit around the hub that sticks through here. So anyways, I'm gonna do that until I get it pretty close, and then we're gonna move over to the other side. Okay, it's time for advanced chain cleaning techniques. We're just gonna use this shop vac with one of these little wedge tips on it. And essentially all we're gonna do is spin up the motors on the chair and hold our shop vac hose up against several different places as the thing turns. And as you'll see, we get a pretty amazing end result. And all right, there we go. You can see here, we've gotten a majority of the filth off of here. Could probably follow this up with a little bit of brake clean or something like that. But yeah, look at that. Just with a shop vac, we managed to get this thing pretty reasonably clean. Okay, now let's get our tires put together. We got a new tire, we've got the old tube, and some spacers. First thing we want to do is get most of the air out of this tube. So I'm just going to compress it and push on the valve stem here. There we go, that should be good. And then we're going to want to check our tire rotation direction, which is going to be this way, which means our valve stem will be facing up. So now we can just jam our tire down in the, or jam our tube down into the tire here. There we go, something like that. And then I'm going to put just a little bit of air in here to help straighten everything out, but we're going to let the air right back out. There we go, air's in there. Then I'm just going to kind of, actually I need to let a little bit of it out. There we go. Then I'm just going to try and work this tube around in here so it's as straight as possible. There we go, it looks good. Now we're going to let most of the air back out. We'll get our wheel over here. This is in two halves. This is the back half, this is the front half, and we have a notch here for the valve stem. So we're going to put the wheel on here and line up that hole for the valve stem. Then flip it over and double check to make sure in here that where it actually lines up is in line with where it goes into the tube, because as you can see here, it can be in any number of positions, and that's going to wind up digging into the tube. So I want to make sure it's lined up with where it actually goes into the tube. There we go. Then we're going to kind of push this down in here a little bit. Then we're going to flip the whole thing back over. And as you can see, our tube's kind of all over the place now. So we're going to have to straighten that out a little bit. And then we're going to put our first spacer in here. These wheels are a little bit weird. I'm going to stick some of these bolts through here, at least probably two of them, just to kind of align everything and sort of hold it in place. Then we're going to take our spacer and get that on two of the bolts here and push it down into place. Come on, there we go. This is a very strange setup. I'm pretty sure this whole thing would benefit from wheel studs, kind of like I did on the Frontier V6. I think, like I was saying before, I'm just going to get some wheels off of like a moped or something that are a little bit bigger, because we actually have two bolt patterns on this spindle here. And these are 6-inch wheels. I think if we jump up to 8-inch wheels, then we can get some lower profile like moped or scooter tires, and we can avoid this whole mess where the wheel goes together and then you just bolt the arrangement on there instead of sharing all the bolt holes like this thing is, which is kind of strange. And then we want to kind of look down in here and make sure that our tube is not being pinched anywhere. Oh, it was being pinched right there. So that's good. All right, got our tube clear of the pinch zones here. All right, that looks good. We're gonna go ahead and take our back half of the wheel, and same thing, you wanna make sure your tube's not gonna get pinched by any of this. Looks like we're good. Then we'll set this down on here. Hold one of the bolts while I flip it over. And then, make sure our valve stem is still lined up on the front. Looks like it needs to shift a little bit. There we go. That looks good. Then I'm going to put a couple more bolts through here. And like I said, this dang it. This arrangement is a little bit strange, and everything fits together and like, I don't know, it doesn't want to be in existence. So I actually use the impact driver to run these screws through all the spacers to get it in place. And I'm pretty sure that's rotated quite a bit. So I'm going to hold this in with one hand, flip it over, and check our alignment for the valve stem here. All right, looks like that's pretty good. Then we're going to eyeball our hub here and see which bolt holes we want to line up first. And then basically grab one of these bolts here and slide the whole arrangement onto here and try to get that first bolt in that hole there. And just sort of rotate it back and forth until you feel it engage. And then I'm going to have to switch over to our handheld ratchet here. And get these started. This whole setup is really a mess. I don't know why they decided to put the thing together like this, but yeah. All right, we're gonna make sure all of our bolts have a couple of threads in them. Then we're gonna put just a tiny bit of air in here. There we go. And then we'll go ahead and tighten these down by hand until they bottom out. Now they're all bottomed out. What we're going to do at this point is try and seat the bead on the tire, because as you can see, you can still get your finger in here. And same thing on the back. And normally I do this in a process. I'll fill it up and drain it a few times, and then that kind of helps everything slide into place. I'm going to go up to about 18, 20 psi, something like that. Okay, that's 20 psi there. I'm going to feel around back. Actually, this one's seated pretty easy. The one on the other side didn't want to do it right away, so we had to fill it and drain it a number of times. So we're going to leave it at that for a minute. Then I'm going to reach up here and spin our tire and see what the wobbliness looks like, because we're going to have to center this whole thing in like we did on the other side. Yeah, that actually doesn't look too bad. Okay, so what we're going to do at this point here is let all the air back out of the tire, and then double check our centering. Where did my screwdriver go? Oh, here it is. There we go. And I'm going to check our tightness on all these and see exactly where we're at. Now, like I was saying on the other side, you don't want to go very tight on these, because it'll start crushing that spacer and things will get weird in a hurry. All right, let's look at our wheel here. Check for our spin rate. Okay, I'm going to spin this up again, and what I'm looking for is a shifting that goes up and down, not necessarily left and right. And then we're going to adjust this wheel a little bit. Okay, so right about there. I'm going to loosen up our bolts just a little bit, then put the handle of this hammer right here and hit the top of it with this rubber mallet. There we go. Rotate it again. Give it one more whack here. All right, now I know from experience that's about as close as we're gonna get on this. So I'm just gonna make sure our bolts are not crazy loose. And just with barely more weight than this ratchet handle has, I'm gonna just barely get these things snug. There we go. Spin it up again, take a look. All right, and that's pretty good for this thing. Now you're wondering, these bolts are not tight, how it's gonna hold them in place. Easy. All the pressure putting in this tire, because it forces both halves of this wheel apart. So, we're gonna stick our air in here, and then we should be pretty much good to go. If I can get to the valve stem. There we go. We're gonna go about 18 PSI. That'll do. It's not perfect. I have in the past attempted to get these things so they're like perfect and, you know, spot on or whatever, but you just wind up chasing your tail and it doesn't make it any better. So as close as that is good. You get a tiny bit of wobbliness, no big deal. But I've also found that sometimes, since these tubes and tires are so big, what I'll do is I'll go out and run around in this thing a little bit, maybe half a day, and then I'll completely drain the air out of the tires and fill it back up again. Because what can happen is these tubes are so wide and so big, occasionally you can get some air trapped in here, and it sort of makes a uneven surface on the tire and it'll make it wobble. So after running it around for a bit and letting a lot of pressure get put on here and letting the rubber of the tires sort of take a set and be how it wants to be, then the air kind of moves around and we can deflate and inflate and we should be good. I know, it sounds complicated, like you could just bolt these on here and run it and be fine, but I do so many miles in this thing that I'm trying to get the maximum amount of life possible out of this tread. That's why I was screwing around with the camber adjustment and all this other stuff. But okay, I'm going to vacuum up the rest of the dirt off the floor, clean up some of these tools. We're gonna put the chair on the ground, and then I will show you how to adjust your chain tension on the front of this thing. Okay, so this little floppy dealy right here is our clutch adjustment mechanism to tension the motors. And it's a little hard to see, but there is a turnbuckle down in there with nuts on each side of that little hasp. And this thing folds open and close to adjust the tension of your chain. And as you can see, that moves your motor back and forth, which, wow. Maybe I should have gotten the actual legit kit from Bounder. Well, I think we'll be okay. At least we're gonna have plenty of clearance up here now, and we won't have to worry about the seat elevator contacting things. After I adjusted the camber on this chair, it sort of moved the motors into a different position, and that combined with the the gear mods and stuff that are sprocket mods and stuff that I did, it sort of made everything all weird. So we can blame that one on me, but we're gonna get it fixed nonetheless. So let's see here. I'm looking at this little screen, trying to figure out a good camera angle here. Aha, there we go. What we're gonna do is loosen this nut right here, and it is a 1/2 inch. We're gonna loosen this up, and we're gonna go almost all the way to the end with it. It'll get finger tight or finger loose or whatever here in a second. And we'll just, let me lock the exposure on this thing. There we go. We're gonna run this almost all the way to the end. And the goal is to get this to where it closes and gives us the proper tension that we need on our chain. So this right here, this is way too loose. We're not getting any chain tension. So we're gonna adjust this down a little bit at a time. And I've done this enough now that I know roughly what it should feel like. And that's pretty close right there. So we're gonna come over here now, and you can see our chain is right here. And I think, I'm trying to remember what the actual spec was. It's something like a 1/4 inch of deflection with X number of pounds of force. Oh, there, you can see that's way too loose. So, oh, I haven't closed the clutch. There we go, now it's closed. Yeah, so that's
I usually like to go a tiny bit more than that, so I'm going to turn this nut 1/4 of a turn, close our clutch back up, and that actually seems pretty good right there. I like to run them just a tiny bit on the tight side because they are going to stretch pretty quick. Also, a thing to remember with this, once you tighten up the nuts on this clutch mechanism, it's going to make it a little bit tighter. Okay, there we go. So now you can see there, that's about how tight we are. And that's almost too tight, so I'm going to back this off like 1/8 of a turn. Oops. There we go. Then this other nut here on the... Boy, that's way overexposed. There's this other nut down here, and I'm going to run that all the way up to the top of the adjustment mechanism here. So it's just snug. Then we'll check our tension one more time. That's pretty good. We're going to use our 1/2-inch wrench, and usually you can just hold the... usually you can just hold this back nut with your finger. It's not going to go anywhere. Then we're going to open this as far as we can to give room for our wrench in here, and then we'll just tighten this up just till it's snug by hand here. It's kind of hard to get an angle on this thing sometimes. There we go. That should be nice and tight, so we can latch this back closed now and double check our tension one more time. That's actually pretty good. I'll show you that. All right, here's our drive chain over here, and we've got maybe 1/4 inch of deflection, something like that, with a couple of pounds of force. And there we go. That's pretty much it. This thing is ready to rock and roll. Oh, one other thing I forgot to mention that's very important, and I've actually forgotten it before. On these chairs that have a factory horn, you have to move the horn out of the way to be able to get to the clutch on this side over here. Come on, tire. There we go. And there is a single Allen bolt right here for that. I'll just illustrate here. So see how this horn comes down like that? When you try to open this clutch, it almost immediately interferes with that horn. So you have to loosen this hex cap bolt right here, and then with your seat elevator all the way up, swivel this out of the way and tighten it back down. But you got to remember to put that horn back, because if you don't and you lower the seat, it's going to bend the crap out of everything. So I just bring it down until it hits the frame, and then back it up just a tiny bit, and then tighten it down right there. And then you should be good to go. There you go. Horn is all mounted in there, and yeah, I think we're ready to go for a rip in this thing. I suppose the next step is going to be actually lubricating the drive chains. I need to find my. I've got this stuff called Bow Shield. It's made by Boeing. If I still have the can, I'll show you. But there's a few different options of chain lubricant you can use. But yeah, I think I'm just gonna grab some of these Lysol wipes, wipe down the inside of the frame here a little bit. So last time I was running this thing, we were in the rain, and definitely got quite a bit of schmoo in here. That is one thing with these chairs, they do not like being near water. If you get a bunch of water up in these connectors, you're gonna have problems. At some point, I'm probably gonna go through this thing and get some heat shrinked weatherproof connectors, because the whole thing just uses these like miniature Anderson style things. I don't know if you can see that right here. But pretty much everything on this chair uses those mini Anderson connectors. I forget what their name is. There's an actual name for those, because I had to buy some a while back. But yeah, those things don't like water. So this chair, definitely when you bring it back, you want to get a box fan or a carpet blower or something and dry this thing out the second you get back home after you've been out in the water. Because bad things may happen. By bad things, I just mean the chair will stop moving. And yeah, and at least one of you watching has had that happen as recent as yesterday. I've been talking to you about it. But yeah, it's always good to have a backup chair if you have the space and whatever. I know that's not reasonable for a lot of people out there, but I don't know. I just like to keep everything kind of clean on these and constantly inspect things, especially with this Bounder. I mean, it's a good, reliable chair, but it's sort of like a Volkswagen Beetle. They'll run forever and they don't really cost anything to keep operating. But usually every couple of weekends, you got to be out there wrenching on them, just doing little maintenance things here and there. But yeah. I know it's dark outside, but I might go out there and run around a little bit if it's not pouring rain. We're supposed to get snow tonight. I don't know what the forecast has said, if it was more than a 1/16 of an inch like they said last time. But we're ready to go in this thing now. I'm gonna get this stuff picked up and get off the floor. My amount of time on the floor has expired for the night, and my back is sore. Insert complaints here. BRB. It's tomorrow, and it's already dark again outside, or pretty close to it. One thing with these tires, though, they're designed for ATVs, and on this garage floor, or any floor, or even on carpet, they tend to squeak a little bit. And actually outside right now is the perfect weather to deal with that, because if you're on asphalt or pavement and it's raining and there's a little bit of grime and sludge out there, that'll actually get rid of that squeaky coating on the tires pretty quick. But it's super obnoxious until that goes away. There's some wheelchair tire ASMR for you. I'm gonna roll the door up and let's go outside for just a minute. I went out there and ran around in the driveway in the gravel just a little bit. The tires are still wet, but I got a little bit of dirt on there. So just running in some gravel will usually pretty quickly make these things less squeaky. There's still a little bit, but after you get some okay, never mind. After you get some miles on them, they'll stop doing that. But anyways, yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully it was interesting.